Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello? There we go. Hello? Like it's live? I didn't even hear the music. Well, hey folks. Hello, hello, hello. I did not hear our lead-in music, so I didn't actually realize we were live. Well, but here we are.
Busted.
Thanks for joining us. It's Monday night, which means it is Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. Very, very exciting show tonight. We've got our wonderful slate of co-hosts. We're going to check in with them, hear what their protest sign has to say tonight. We've got Doug Price in the house with his segment, Doug Price is Right. It's going to be, I think, a fun show for everyone. Some fun, some bad news, actually. The fun, not a lot of fun stories, really, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say. But that's, that's the political week of Kentucky. It's not our fault. We would like to bring you fun. It's just, it's bleak, sometimes politically quite bleak in Kentucky. But what I did want to make sure you knew, all of you viewers out there, is that we need your help, right? So what is Progress Kentucky? Why should you be listening to our live stream? We're an all volunteer campaign. We're committed to connecting the dots between Republican-led policies which harm our state and the opportunity for better policies. So we want to support that progressive for our Commonwealth. And if you don't know, now you know. And if you are picking up what we are putting down, we would love to have your support. So you head to our Secure Act Blue page, make a donation. $5 is fine. 500 would be preferable. Somewhere in between is fantastic. It all adds up. It all supports our efforts to turn Kentucky purple. And why purple? Why not just say blue, Aaron? We're going to make Kentucky blue. Well, because I'm a realist. And I want to make sure that everyone knows the reality of our situation. We turning a red state blue is ambitious. And we like to think that our campaign is grounded in facts, right? That's why we're kernels of truth. Kernels of truth. That's what we're trying to do here. Tell you the truth. So if I said we're going to turn Kentucky turn Kentucky blue, without a very long time horizon, I would not be telling you the truth. So it's incremental gains is what we're looking for here. Incremental gains, which we're going to have to work really hard for. But speaking of kernels, true story, 5 out of the 6 folks that you will be seeing in this episode are in fact Kentucky kernels. Yeah, honorable Kentucky kernels. So the esteem and the honor that is coming at you tonight from this crew, folks, that is not something you can find on every live stream out there. So that's why you should stick with ours. Anyway, so and if you want to guess in the chat who in fact is not a Kentucky kernel, feel free, and we'll let you know who's right. But who are you? Where are you? What's your protest sign to say today? You there in the internet, you're on off the hook. Go ahead and add your protest sign into the chat, please. So I'm Aaron. I'm coming to you from Childsburg in Southeast Kentucky, or Lexington rather, southeast side of Lexington. And my sign says today, trans rights are human rights. How about you, Nate?
Hey folks, this is Nate Orshan coming to you from South Frankfort, Kentucky. And my protest sign today says, "Dear Republican legislators, support voting. Don't suppress voting."
Nice. And Nate, welcome back. Glad to see you here again.
Thank you.
Kimberly, let's hear your sign.
Hello, everybody, and I'm coming to you from Louisville, Kentucky, home of the Kentucky Derby. And also, you may also know me as the Honorable Kentucky Colonel, Kimberly. Thank you. So my protest sign says today, show me the money. It's time for the next stimulus check. It's time for us to have money. Show me the money.
Get it done, DC. Come on, send us the stimulus checks. All right, Ken, what have you got? Who are you? Where are you? And what's your sign say?
Well, it's another day. I've been angry all day, which is exciting. but I'm coming from Lexington. I'm Ken Howell. I'm coming from Lexington, Kentucky, the north side, not too far away from where Denise Gray is. And my protest sign says it's kind of like a Nate Orshan one, but he did a shorter one. So it's act now, participate, join a group, join our group, share our content. It's time to progress, Kentucky. Get involved.
Ooh, all right. Ken, the man behind the scenes, coming out, showing his face. It's always exciting. And thank you again for making the show look cool. And we are now going to go into a very important segment, News of the Week. And I think the first story of Kentucky's political news coming to us from Kimberly.
Thank you, Aaron. Yes, Rand Paul and Marjorie, however you want to pronounce her name, Taylor Greene, had quite a week putting their transphobia and lack of consideration for fellow humans on display. You might have heard about Taylor Greene, the congresswoman and Twitter troll, picking a fight with her congressional colleagues across the state and across the hall. So Rand Paul decided to one-up her in transphobia, attacking the first ever transgender political appointee to come before the Senate for confirmation.
Genital mutilation has been nearly universally condemned. Genital mutilation has been condemned by the WHO, the United Nations Children's Fund, the United Nations Population Fund. According to the WHO, genital mutilation is recognized internationally as a violation of human rights. Genital mutilation is considered particularly egregious because, as the WHO notes, it is nearly always carried out on minors and is a violation of the rights of children.
Well, Paul is always mirrored in logical fallacies as he appeals to ignorance of his supporters. First, he sets the stage by discussing adding an unrelated topic such as genital mutilation. Yes, I said that right. Genital mutilation, which is a very real issue. Female genital mutilation, in short, is used as a means to subjugate and enslave women in some patriarchal and religious fundamentalist cultures. It's very well known over in Africa that they do female genital mutilation over there in some parts. But the female genital mutilation does not in any way relate to gender confirmation in any way. Paul's argument is vile, evil, and shows us exactly who he is. Dr. Rachel Levine, a nominee for Assistant Secretary of Health, responded to Paul with a clear and deliberate statement. Okay, she looks visibly shocked by Paul's willful ignorance. I mean, I'm trying to get these words out because I knew about this, but it still never ceases to shock me and amaze me to the lengths that Rand Paul will go. So Paul doesn't relent, and he repeats his hate speech on, and it's loaded questioning, asking the doctor again and again about gender transitioning, calling the physician process genital mutilation, and fixating on Republicans' talking points about how children are being treated with hormones and having gender reassignment surgery. So Dr. Levine, to her credit, didn't take the bait. Thank goodness for that. And calmly and collectedly offered to come to Rand Paul's office and discuss the nuanced and researched field of transgender medicine with him and his staff.
Well, Senator, thank you for your interest in this question. Transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field with robust research and standards of care that have been developed. And if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed as the Assistant Secretary of Health, I would look forward to working with you and your office and coming to your office and discussing the particulars of the standards of care.
Very classy lady there. And she needs to be confirmed. So Rand Paul should also educate himself on the very basis of what genital mutilation is and its practices are before he even attempts to allow that to come out of his mouth. Okay, he's attacking the transgender community on practices it does not commit or condone. Okay, Paul's blatant hate speech is despicable, dangerous, and toxic, and will lead to more violence against the trans community, which is a community. So, according to the Human Rights Commission, 2020 was the deadliest year on record for violence against transgender and gender nonconforming people. Yet, once again, Rand Paul putting his foot in his mouth incites violence against the community with outright conjecture and lies. I'm not surprised. I hope you guys are not surprised, because Rand Paul, this is what he does. This is who he is. And next time, my protest sign should be "Get rid of Rand Paul." According to one of our viewers on Facebook and partners with us, Miss Annabelle, let's just get rid of Rand Paul. What do you guys say about that? It's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a lot to, kind of take in, right? And I guess as I think about it, it's astounding to me, both the Marjorie Taylor Greene story and then Rand Paul. It's like clear that they think it's okay to attack trans people, right? Like that's where the Republican Party is. That's where the political leadership is like, yep, let's go ahead and attack trans people. And it's astounding to me that, one party is just willing to jettison kindness to fellow humans, and that they're going to make that something that's comfortable for their party to do. It's astounding and disgusting, really.
It really is. I mean, Nate, I know that you have something that you would like to say about this.
Well, I mean, you both have covered everything so thoroughly that I don't think there's much more that I can say, except that, there's something about Rand Paul's his combination of ignorance and arrogance that is just this amazing tsunami of embarrassment to the Commonwealth. I mean, it's bad enough that he's so dumb about gender issues. But there's something really particularly aggravating about him being so proud about it at the same time. It's like, look at me, look at these points I'm going to be making. I mean, it's like he has all this pride about being anti-pride.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree with that most definitely.
Yeah, it's like performative ignorance, right? It's like amazing. All right, so thank you very much for that story, Kimberly. Definitely more fuel to the why we got to get rid of Rand Paul. Stoke that fire, which we have to keep it building for a year or so. So let's go ahead and go to now Frankfort. So we've got we got Nate coming at us with a important bill that is moving right now. Nate, what have you got?
Well, I'm going to address this to our wonderful viewers out there. Hey, you out there, want to hear about a terrible, terrible bill? HB 312? Of course you do. Or I'll call it 312. HB 312, an act relating to public records, was created in haste at the last minute, passed in haste by the Republican majority in the State House, and most likely, if it hasn't already by the time you're hearing this, going to pass in haste by the Republican majority in the State Senate. Now, much of my information about HB 312 comes from a recent essay from Amy Benson-Haver, who Kentuckians may know was an assistant attorney general for 25 years. And she continues to advocate for open records and meetings through this group she co-founded called Kentucky Open Government Coalition. So Ms. Benson-Haver has a lot to say about HB 312, I can't say it correctly, 312. And I encourage you to read her essay at either Hoptown Chronicle or Forward Kentucky. She just posted it last week. The bad thing about HB 312 that I want to focus on right now is called the Residency Requirement. So let's start this out by looking at a map of our dear, dear Commonwealth. If Ken is getting it up. I'm not sure, but as soon there, oh, no Commonwealth. Oh, well, if you could see the Commonwealth, you would notice that we are covered on all sides by all these other states that we border, and especially along the western side and the northern side of the state, we have the beautiful Ohio River that touches us and many other states. So let's say you're living in Breckinridge County along the east bank of the Ohio, and you suspect that there's some new source of pollution that's originating across the river in Indiana. It's affecting you. And what you would like to do is be able to request that the Indiana state government provide some records to confirm whether this is something that they already know about, maybe they're doing something about, or in the worst case, maybe they're trying to cover it up. Well, here's some good news. Indiana does not have a residency requirement for their public records requests. So you, a Kentuckian, have the right to request public records from Indiana government entities. Whether they'd honor that request quickly or whether they charge you out the wazoo to fulfill it, that's a different story. But at least they don't have this residency requirement for getting the data. And that's a good thing, right? Because things like pollution don't just stay confined within one state's borders, but there's so many other examples where having a residency requirement for accessing public records just plain sucks. What if here in Kentucky, you have an aging parent who lives in Missouri and you want to see nursing home inspection records, right? Health records. Or what if you were driving through Illinois and you got in a traffic accident and you want to be able to request the law enforcement records, right? Or what if you're an employer and you want to be able to do a routine background check for a job applicant who lives in Ohio? Or what if you're a journalist working on a public safety story in West Virginia, but you're here in Kentucky and you need to access public records from the West Virginia state government? You see what I mean? As a Kentuckian, you can do all these things because those states don't have a residency requirement for getting to public records. Now, don't ask about Tennessee or Virginia. That's a different story. But so why would we want to turn around and start being jerks to people from other states? Okay, there's the story that the lobbyists tell our legislators, and then there's the real story. So the Kentucky League of Cities, which wants this residency requirement, says that it would, quote, reduce the cost to Kentucky taxpayers of responding to numerous requests from out-of-state requesters, unquote. But hold up. Number one, they get to charge these out-of-state requesters for their time and materials for digging up the records, right? And number two, they can request prepayment from these folks. So there's no way they're not going to get their money for digging up these records. So what's the big deal? What's the real story? I say the real story is government officials and organizations have this huge incentive to make it harder for people to get access to public records. It's partly human laziness. Why do the work if you don't absolutely have to? But it's also this natural desire to avoid accountability. What the public doesn't know can't hurt them. Except as we have to keep learning over and over and over again, it can. And the only way to ensure that public officials and government is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing by increasing transparency and by increasing transparency and leaving Kentucky's open records statute alone, and certainly not adding this ridiculously residency requirement. That would be the bare minimum we can do to maintain transparency. So what I'm asking you is, please let your state senator know that you don't want them supporting HB 312, an act relating to public records, because you believe in transparency and accountability in government. And here's that LRC hotline one more time, 1-800-372-7181. And back to you, Aaron.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Nate. So yeah, that's a really important one. HB 312. I think we signed onto a coalition letter in opposition to it. But it's not, not the only bill. It is, the session is hot and heavy right now. Bills are moving quickly. It's hard to even keep track of some of the key legislation because it's as if the Republican supermajority doesn't want the public to know what's going on, and they move things, they waive the rules so you don't have a chance to take a look at them, and things are going because of clearly political considerations more than policy considerations. I would say that's fair. So what do we got? HB 574, the Elections Reform Bill. That was passed by the House. And this is actually, it's a step forward from our current horrible and restrictive voting rules, right? So Kentucky's got some of the worst voting rules in the country, but this bill makes those rules better. Unfortunately, it's a step back from the far more accessible rules we ran elections under during COVID, right? So the kind of no fault early voting opportunities will be weakened somewhat from where they were under the COVID elections that Secretary of State Adams negotiated with Governor Beshear. But this is a step forward. So that's the HB 574. This is one that Rand Paul had actually testified generally in support of a bunch of things. It was before the bill had even been introduced. So it was kind of a very odd thing. This is part of, I think, this kind of nationwide call for, election rules to be kind of further scrutinized for this, scam, big, huge lie about, fraudulent elections, right? So they're trying to crack down on some vote by mail. So this has more restrictive rules about vote by mail than we had under the COVID, as I said. So because our rules were so bad to begin with, I think this is actually a step forward. But yeah, it's a bit nuanced. We also have SB 4. Now the SB 4 is the Republican version of Breanna's law. So this is not they're calling it Breanna's law. But Breanna's law really is HB 21, which is what Attica Scott has been pushing. But because Attica Scott is a Democrat, she's not been able to get the traction for her bill that it's deserved. And so Republicans, did a kind of measured bill on no-knock warrants. It does not ban them completely like Attica Scott's bill does. It is, I think the ACLU has called it an improvement. They are, calling for its passage, but it's not as strong as it could be. So the bill was brought forward by Republican leaders Stivers, Damon Thayer, but it does interestingly have a couple of these Democrats on as co-sponsors. And one of them is Reggie Thomas. The other one is David Yates. And it'd be interesting to hear from Reggie kind of what were the political considerations there on getting on that bill. But Breonna Taylor's mother actually issued a statement. Tamika Palmer said Breonna was an EMT and always wanted to save lives. With the passage of Breonna's law, she will save lives forever. But I do know that there's still a push to get HB 21, Representative Scott's bill, moved forward. And I think that there's chances that it might actually get a hearing towards the end of this week. So that would be an issue to bring up if you're contacting your representatives. SB 2011, SB 211. This is the Anti-Breanna Taylor protests bill. So this is a huge problem for free speech. It's going to target peaceful, nonviolent disobedience. It'll also have ramifications on the city's homeless people, because it does these things about no camping, no urban camping, because they're trying to get rid of the encampments, Freedom Square. And that is, clearly a problem. So SB 211 is a real problem for free speech in Kentucky. The House also passed HB 91. This is an effort to amend the Kentucky Constitution to explicitly state that there's no right to abortion care in Kentucky. So this is shameful, it's draconian, and it would really pave the way for a total ban in Kentucky if Roe versus Wade is weakened. That's the only way this bill really kind of goes into place, because Roe versus Wade is right now the law of the land. But if Roe versus Wade is overturned by this very conservative Supreme Court, then this would go into place to completely shut down all abortions in Kentucky. And this House action came after Representative Rachel Roberts, who's from Campbell County, bravely shared how she was beaten and raped as a 14-year-old. Very powerful personal testimony that she gave to the state legislature, and said that she didn't know she could have handled the trauma of carrying a rapist baby if she'd become pregnant. And HB 91 has no exemptions for rape or incest or life of the parent. So it is a horrible, horrible piece of legislation, and it's moving right now. So I think it's really important that folks get involved and get engaged. Nate, what have you got for that?
Well, it's time for the call, two, action. We spared no expenses here. Call to action. We are asking you to call the legislative hotline and make 3 thumbs down requests. So please call 1-800-372-7181. It's 1-800-372-7181. And please ask your senator to oppose HB 91, HB 312, and SB 211. That's HB 91, HB 312, and SB 211. Let's just know, let them know that there are people out there, their constituents, voters, who don't want them promoting terrible, terrible bills. Thank you.
So which of those horrible bills are you going to lead with when you make your phone call, Nate? Like, which one do you think is the one that's most egregious that you want to make sure when you talk to, again, the nicest humans on the planet are the people who answer the phone there at the legislative contact line. Nicest people on the planet. Call them. You should get to know them. They're so nice. And once you've called once, they'll have your name on file, so they can just pull up everything. It'll be super quick. But which of those horrible bills do you think you're going to lead with there, Nate?
Well, I mean, today I already called for HB 312, the one that I was talking about earlier. So, I mean, that's checked off my list. And certainly first thing tomorrow, I'm going to call for HB 91 and SB 211 and just let them know that I want my senator, Adrienne Southworth, not a very progressive person, but, she is getting to know my opinion pretty quickly. So let her know that I don't want either of those.
Awesome. Kimberly, what about which of this slate of horrible bills is most egregious to you?
All. But since you've asked me to pick one, the SB HB 91, and when they try to bring up these things when it concerns abortion, and please, don't misunderstand me. The disclaimer will always be that, personally, I'm not just going to talk to every young lady or every woman and encourage abortion, okay? But when it comes to someone being raped, incest, medical matters, or you just feel like this is not, I'm not ready, it's not for me, whatever, that woman has to be judged on her decisions like the rest of us. However, it is so wrong for someone to tell you what you can and cannot do when it concerns your own body. And in addition to that, I'd like to say, Aaron, that this will make women just go back to the old way of doing things. We've heard the things that have happened. I had a very good friend of mine whom sister, died in one of those back alley abortions. So, I would say for every time they come with this abortion issue, that we need to come up with, okay, the baby's born. What are you going to do now? Republicans, how are you going to take care of that child? Can you guarantee that child will be adopted, put into a great home? Will that, or will that child go into foster care? Can you guarantee that this child is going to have a productive life and become a productive citizen for society? That's the tug of war that I would hope to see. We need to be stronger in our address about Republicans. What are you going to do with these children once they're born?
100%. Yeah. The pro-life party has a very, very narrow definition of life. Right. Let's go ahead and get as many, people, on death row as possible. Let's make sure we crank up, state, capital punishment. They don't seem to have a problem with that. They don't seem to have a problem with, actually making sure there's a social safety net for folks. And, heaven forbid the kid's trans, because they're going to think it's great to make fun of them. Right. Like there's no kindness in that party. There's no understanding in that party. And I do think that, that's a horrible bill. And, I think that's the one that I would lead with as well when I'm making my calls. But I'm going to say all 3 of them. You got time. You can do all 3. You could do, those people are so polite on the phone. You could go through all 500 pieces of legislation and give them your opinion and ask them to share your opinion with your senator and your rep, and they would do it and they wouldn't complain. So I'm just saying, you can do all 3. Do all 3. All right, so we are now moving on. We are very excited to welcome back the individual who apparently is right, always right, because it's right there in the name of the segment. And this is, I think, going to be the third installment of Doug Price's Impeachment Digest. But welcome back to the show, Doug Price.
Yes, Aaron, thank you. Welcome to another edition of Doug Price is Right. Now, I want to square this up. The committee came up with the name, and I do kind of agree with it, but that's okay. Tonight may well be my final discussion about the Kentucky impeachment process, thankfully. As you know, we are now the kernels of truth, and I believe our army of supporters helped to end the attempt to impeach our governor, Andy Beshear. Our troops, led by Aaron Viles, with the support of our wonderful volunteers, took a notion from Rowan and Martin's laugh-in and socked it to the committee. Some of you younger folks have no idea what I'm talking about, but check it out online. This show was the craze in the late 60s and early 70s. We sent out a media advisory announcing a Zoom press conference at 3 p.m. on the day of what turned out to be their last meeting, and invited the committee members to attend along with numerous news outlets. We shared the survey results of our Reject the Bogus Impeachment effort poll, plus another poll by Emma Latta, who had a change.org petition to stop the Beshear impeachment. A total number of signatures approaching 30,000. We also sent an email to one of the committee members, Felicia Rayborn, asking her to recuse herself from deliberations on the Beshear impeachment petition. We found several instances where she aligned herself with Andrew Cooperrider, who is the owner of Brood and one of the Beshear impeachment petitioners. The petitioners purported to show that our governor violated several sections of the Kentucky Constitution, and rightfully so. The committee denied each one of the allegations, ruling that no allegation rises to the level of impeachment conduct. It took them several days to figure this out, several meetings, hard to understand. The vote to dismiss this petition was unanimous. The committee also ruled on the Cameron impeachment petition and found that no allegation rises to the level of impeachable conduct, and the vote to dismiss this petition was also unanimous. The law states that if the petition fails, the petitioners shall be liable for any cost incurred by the people whom the petition was filed against. Plus, the petitioners are liable for expenses of the committee. In the legislature, they often use terms that sound the same but mean just the opposite. For example, if the law says something will happen, then that is not legally enforceable. Sometimes they say will be, and then add notwithstanding, which really means that it may not really happen. But shall, that means it must happen. The committee asked Beshear and Cameron to submit their cost, and that information will be sent to the petitioners. Apparently, the petitioners will have an opportunity to dispute the cost, and we will follow this closely. The law is the law, and the General Assembly should not be able to disregard the law that they wrote. One of the members of the committee, Representative Ed Massey, has introduced a law which changes the process in which these matters are handled. If this is passed, then an individual would not be able to bring forward an impeachment petition. A member of the House could bring forth the petition if at least 2 members sign the petition. Apparently, those legislators would be responsible for the cost if the petition failed. I would bet you this aspect changes as this bill moves along the process. The bottom line, the Beshear impeachment is over. The proof that he acted within his power and for the benefit of us, the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, is there for everyone to see. You helped make this happen. For that, we thank you. We appreciate your hard work on this issue, and we know that we can count on your help as we work to change Kentucky from solid red to purple and beyond.
Hey. So thank you so much for that, Doug Price. That was informative as always. Good to know that shall is right there, and they're not going to have a chance to ignore it. I did this just in from Facebook. Betty Weaver, who's been a wonderful, supportive, and engaged Progress Kentucky member, has written a few regulations, and she underscores that shall is the only word that matters. So she concurs with you, Doug Price. So if Betty Weaver and Doug Price agree, then we know it is in fact accurate. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to watch this play out, right? And we were disappointed that that the Dan Cameron impeachment petition was dismissed at the same time. Also very disappointing. The whole thing was a bit disappointing, right? Because we didn't know what the deliberations looked like, right? It was all done in secret. You had no visibility into the process, the arguments, the considerations. And that, I truly think that is, offensive and outrageous. Not that, this crew in Frankfort has any real interest in public scrutiny or any sunlight, as, what we heard earlier on the bill that Nate was talking about, HB 312. But it's truly troubling that they're so willing to do such important business, people's business, behind closed doors. Any thoughts on that? Anyone else want to weigh in on impeachment?
I heard that Massey, Massey is always all up in everything, isn't he? That he possibly co-sponsored that HB 91 bill. And then going into the impeachments, he was a part of that, of course. And then going into Daniel Cameron, it was dismissed. Why did that even happen? He's crooked as a $3 bill. So, and then the lack of transparency, Aaron, it's the times that we're living in, and we desperately need everyone's help to turn this state purple, because we have to do better and be better for the generations that are coming.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if we want Kentucky to, thrive into the future, the type of political leadership we've got right now, I think is just, it's despicable. Doug, do you have something you wanted to add in?
Sure. I want to mention that of all the meetings that they held, approximately 2 hours were open and approximately 16 hours were in closed executive session. No reporters there, no real report other than a 1 or 2, 3 sentence of what happened during those hours that they were conducting the people's business. It's really sad. And the chairman, Representative Jason Nemeth, commented several times that this was the most open impeachment effort there ever was. Well, if the others were as long as this one was, I don't hardly think so. But it's just, I don't know, it's just sad, the things that are going on with the Republican legislatures right now.
Yeah, them being a super majority is not helping our state. That's my take on it, certainly. All right, Nate, any closing thoughts about what's going on in Frankfort?
Well, just, just that the impeachment effort against Andy Beshear, and combined with the lack of transparency, like what it's like 12.5%, was that 2 hours out of 16 were public. I mean, it just shows that the Republicans aren't really interested in us knowing what's going on, and it's just the same thing you keep seeing over and over again. It reflects in that bill that we're trying to get stopped, 312, and it's just a really fundamental disrespect for the voters, the constituents, and a disrespect for democracy to be so uh, blithe, to be so transparent about being untransparent. So.
Yeah, that's true. It's like the Rand Paul willful ignorance performative. Like they just shameless. It's all shameless, right?
Yeah.
We've got the sense of what we would like our government to be, right? Responsive and there to do the people's work and to make life better for people. And there's just this whole strain of politicians who do not see that as their role. They're there to own libs. They're there to make the governor's life harder. Right? Like it's just this very surreal that that's who, the Republican Party is choosing to represent them and send to these, these halls to make these decisions. Somebody who has people who have very little respect for government, right? Like, who, want to just attack government. They see government as the problem. Like government is us. Government is how we choose to behave for ourselves, right? And how we choose to engage with our society. That's government. And that's what politicians should be striving to do, is make that government more impactful and effective, not just to hamstring it and to, make it into the enemy. It's outrageous. We got our work cut out for us, folks. There's a lot of work to do here. That's for sure. All right. Well, I guess that is pretty much our show. I'm going to send it over to Kimberly Cecil Jones to close us out and send us on our way.
Thank you, Aaron. Tonight has been so informative, and it's calling for all of us to do our part to turn this state purple. It has to happen because, as we can tell, everything that's going on, we have nothing to do with it. We don't even know actually closed meetings and what they're doing and what the move is going to be next. So I thank you guys for the reporting tonight, because I actually learned a lot tonight and how important it is. So I want to ask everybody that's looking and listening, are you ready to turn Kentucky purple? Please say yes. All the people on the Kernels of Truth, Progress Kentucky Live, and all the people on the Jones Report Live, comment, I'm ready. I'm ready to see a change and to turn Kentucky purple. So another thing that you can do is join Progress Kentucky. We're very close to a lot, like over 4,000 we need or more people to like our page. So please, I implore you to go out there, check us out, and like us, and invite some of your friends. Most of the time, the people we hang with the most are the people that have similar thoughts. So get them to sign up for Progress Kentucky. A lot of information. You'll be in the know, and you'll really enjoy the content that we have, okay? Then the next thing is go into Progress Kentucky, and you'll see it on there on your Facebook, and it say invite. Just go ahead and click that button and invite all of your friends to like the page, okay? You know that we need those likes. Is always a numbers game. So help us out, will you please? And then also hit us up on Act Blue. It does cost money to keep this going. And we really appreciate any donations that you can give. We do, and we use it wisely. This show is just one of the things that we're doing. And also, I wanted to let you know that we'll be holding an organizing action meeting on Zoom, and we need all of you to attend and tell your friends, tell your mom and them, cousin them, tell everybody them, right? That they need to be on this Zoom call. I'm going to be on the call. I'm going to meet you on the call March the 20th at 3 p.m. So you can fill out the form, get our newsletter, and volunteer. That's what it's going to take to turn this state purple. Everybody pitching in. If you don't like it, let's get out and do something about it. So It's going to be on the ground organizing projects, and we just need you because Kentucky politics definitely need to be sane, okay, and responsive. We got rid of Trump, okay? We made Mitch McConnell, you know, we lessened his power. So now it's time to work on the state level. We got to get this right, you guys. It's so important. So and you know, I would be amiss if I didn't say every week, thank you, thank you, thank you. Kisses to you, Ken, with Couchfire Media. You know, Couchfire Media ignites multi-camera, live stream, fiction narrative, nonfiction educational, informative, animation, and commercial video production content. So set your content on fire with Couchfire Media. You'll see the website coming up pretty soon. Just click on it. Just check them out. You like this show, you'll like what you see on couchfiremedia.com. And the song that you hear is none other than our own co-host tonight, Mr. Nate Orshan. You can look and listen to even more of his songs if you go to natosongs.com. That's N-A-T-O songs.com. And of course, you have to make sure that you follow and you're looking at the Jones Report on Sundays at 1 p.m. Okay, because why? We've got Mike Breuer, Betsy Foster, Ken, he's our producer as well. So, you know, it's going to be looking good. And yours truly as the host every Sunday at 1 p.m. on the Facebook page, the Jones Report radio program. So this week, everybody, go head on and sign up for the Zoom call that's going to be on March the 20th at 3 p.m. Just get in the know. We need everybody in the know. And I'm calling tonight all of my sorors, all of my AKAs, and you know who our leader is, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm gonna need all my AKAs in the state of Kentucky to take a stand that we're going to help organize and do what was done in Georgia, because AKAs, we had a lot to do with that as well. So until then, be nice to everybody, love everybody, and do something productive this week. And until next week, we'll see you then.